still laughing. Dude, you're gonna run out. Oh, that's your other thing. You can run out of. Okay. Did we start now? Because you're just gonna edit. Yes? Okay. Okay. Got your FDR look going on here. I can't focus. All right. Go. We're not going to stop and start again. You're just going to edit? Okay. All right. Welcome to Whiskey Advent 2020, Day 4. I'm Chantel.
I'm Blake.
And today we are back to bourbon. And the bourbon we chose is Larceny. This is a barrel-proof bourbon, which means
that they took it right out of the barrel at its cask strength. Another term you would hear for barrel-proof, cask strength, high proof. And it means that they didn't water it down.
Thus, giving us a product that is 122.4 proof.
We're getting up there.
So Larceny is a great bourbon. We'll taste in a bit. But it is part of the Heaven Hill brands. Mm-hmm. In the, I suppose, the entire liquor industry, a lot of different brands are owned by a few companies.
Larger conglomerates. Heaven Hill owns Elijah Craig, Henry McKenna.
Evan
Williams. Names you know in the whiskey and bourbon industry, especially bourbon.
As well as other liquors as well.
Other spirits as well, yes. But particularly, they've got some really good products as far as whiskey is concerned. And we really like Elijah Craig, especially Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel is really good. I've been enjoying that lately. The Henry McKenna 10-year bottled in bond, seemingly hard to get now and much more expensive.
Wasn't a year ago.
Wasn't 2 years ago. Wasn't 3 years ago. Wasn't a year ago. Look for Henry McKenna behind the counter at your local liquor store, and I don't know, just don't pay more than $35 for that one. It's really good, but you know, it's hyped. So, but today, Larceny, you also know Larceny for their regular non-barrel proof product, which is a wheated bourbon. It's very good. Tell us about wheated bourbons.
Okay, so traditionally bourbon was, as well, we talked the other day, at least 51% corn to be bourbon, and then typically finished out with malted barley and rye. But wheated bourbons, rather than the rye, put in the wheat. Mash bill on this one, I believe, is 68% corn, 20% wheat, and 12% malted barley. Yeah. So instead of, like, rye gives you that really sort of spicy, pungent notes. Wheat's more smooth and sweet.
More like a candied flavor when you're tasting the wheated bourbons. I particularly love wheated bourbons. I like high rye bourbons too, but wheated bourbons, wheated bourbons have a special place in my heart. Think of wheated bourbons as Maker's Mark.
Rocktown, one of our favorite local distilleries in Little Rock, Arkansas.
You got the Larceny, which is probably
all the Pappy Van Winkle stuff, wheated bourbons.
All Pappy, Weller, and
the whole family, that Buffalo Trace family.
Yeah, Buffalo Trace. Not all the Buffalo Trace family, like the E.H. Taylors and, let's see, E.H. Taylor and Elmore T. Lee. I don't think both of those are high rye. But anyways, yeah, wheated bourbons are particularly good. I really like a lot of them.
Particularly sweet, not as spicy.
Not as spicy. Very smooth. They can still be aged a long time, like the older Pappies and the older Wellers. And
while this bottle has no age statement, I do believe they say it's about 6 to 8 years aging on this one. So
pretty good bourbon. This is batch number C920. And you'll know that if you'll know Elijah Craig, same family, Heaven Hill distilleries and brands, they like to name their batches A, B, and C throughout the year, and they usually have 2 or 3. So I assume that's why exactly this is batch number C920. It's 122 proof, 122.4, 61.2% alcohol. So it's one of the most high things we've probably tasted in a long time.
I think it's the highest one on our calendar.
Another one in the Heaven Hill brand is Old Fitzgerald, and this is John E. Fitzgerald Larceny. So there's some family ties
Is he the
there.
Old Fitzgerald?
I assume.
Okay. Shall we taste?
Let's
Shall we
taste.
sniff?
Let's sniff.
Getting alcohol and a sweetness.
Alcohol and sweetness. I get a little marshmallow.
Marshmallows are sweet.
Yeah. A little musty, and I can definitely feel that barley note coming off.
I'm ready to taste. I'm not getting a ton off the nose.
It's definitely strong, and you can tell that on the nose.
Getting that typical sweetness of a wheated bourbon as opposed to the spice from a rye.
A lot of corn notes.
Getting a little musty funk from this one too, which per yesterday,
Musty funk.
I love
good.
musty funk. Maybe a slight nuttiness.
I think it's very nutty, and I think that's coming off of the nose and then also the palate. Not too much hug at 60%. Are you getting a hug?
I'm getting a hug, but for being so high proof,
Getting any spice? Any?
my mouth is getting numb. My chest is getting numb. Definitely warming.
A lot of bitterness, which means
Can tell it's been in
you can tell it's been in the
oak
charred
barrels
barrel
for 6
for
to
a
8
while.
years.
Yeah, I would say this is probably older, and especially with bourbons, given most bourbons are in the South, and especially this one in Kentucky, they age faster because of the heat in the South. I would say that I'm definitely getting a lot of bitterness that correlates to an older bourbon.
But it's a nice balance
Older-ish,
between
yeah.
the bitterness and the sweetness.
Yeah, I'd agree. Sometimes bourbons can get too old, and there's just too much oak and too much barrel and too much bitterness. And I'd say this has got a good balance, especially with the higher proof and the sweetness.
And for being as high proof as it is, it doesn't quite...
Didn't knock you in your socks or...
Yeah. I don't know if that's good or
Whichever
bad,
it is.
but
Any lingering finish for you?
sweetness and musty funk. I mean, I don't know if it's because of the high proof.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the nose, I didn't get much, but like alcohol. And I wonder if that, because it's so high proof, it covers up some of the
Yeah, maybe.
nuances or any more particular flavors. I mean, it's enjoyable, it's sweet,
Yeah.
it's bitter, it's a little nutty, it's a little musty.
I'm getting a vanilla note as it's aging, or as it's airing out a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially on the nose.
Oh, vanilla, I'm thinking like vanilla extract is nice and sweet.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I'm getting a cake, like a vanilla cake, a vanilla icing, frosting type vibe on the nose again here.
It's quite good. And I want
Definitely
to say
get that.
it's a bargain buy, right? Because
Yes.
it's not very expensive.
No, for
what I
this
recall.
it's like $60, $50 if you can find it. It's hard to come by, but you can.
Probably wasn't a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Clearly, the whiskey bourbon market has.
Exploded. But this, the regular Larceny is, I think, a little tame. This is great because of the barrel proof, and I think because of that, it's harder to find.
And when you say regular Larceny, is it the small batch? Is that what it's referred
Yeah,
to?
I think so. Just
They
their
only
regular-
make a
just their-
couple
yeah, just their
Larceny products.
yeah.
Okay.
And what this says to me, this batch number C920, it's that's very reminiscent of Elijah Craig, especially the Elijah Craig. What are they called? The barrel proof Elijah Craig that they put out, and they put about 2 or 3 out a year. And it's not your $20 Elijah Craig. It's more of the $70, $80, $90 Elijah Craig that's this high proof and has this very similar batch number. So you can tell they're doing something very similar in this. This is really good.
It's one you should have in your
You should have it.
home.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts on this one?
Wheated bourbon.
Very
delicious. Again,
I find
Kentucky.
that the nose profile is changing every
really?
minute, just a little bit. I'm getting another floral note here.
I don't know. Yeah, we didn't have this setting out for too long.
And as it's sitting out, I'm getting a lot more.
And we find that sometimes it's a good. I mean, take a few sips, or just pour it, let it set for a little while. And sometimes you go back and you're like, ooh, I didn't catch that before. Ooh, I like this a lot more after 20 minutes or so.
Just a lot of cake and vanilla and something real pleasant that you want to come back to. And that ties in with the funk and that ties in with the proof of it.
It's
overall
good.
Very
it's
good.
Solid.
Yeah.
A solid wheated bourbon
Solid wheated bourbon.
for December 4th,
Yes.
2020. Good?